This is what we promised, 10 tips and tricks. So this is what we're going to talk about. First of all, we're going to start by talking about PowerPivot, how you can take advantage of PowerPivot. This is going to be the only slightly technical piece of the demonstration. Jonathan is going to show us a bit around what a query object is and how you can take advantage of it. That's important because we're going to follow that query in some of the other demos and really make sure that you can capture and really get a deep understanding of that. So that's the PowerPivot piece. Then we're going to talk about the OneNote integration that NAV has. The OneNote integration is something I found out actually in Atlanta around 3 or 4 years ago when we had Convergence here. I was standing down at the expo playing around with the demo environment, waiting for customers to come up, ask questions. And I saw the send to OneNote integration in there, and I was very excited about that because I use OneNote a lot, and I think it's one of the hidden treasures we've introduced over the last couple of releases. I just haven't really seen in any other session. So we are, of course, going to cover that. Do self-service business analysis. That's about Jet Reports Express. We're going to talk about the Jet Reports Express solution that we've had in market for a few years. We've had thousands and thousands of customers download the application. It's available if you're on an active business ready enhancement plan. We're going to talk about the opportunity, the solution, and point you in the right direction in terms of where you can download it and so on. Report Builder 3.0, that's a great thing. That means that you can leverage your SQL investments in order when you do a customization, you don't have to rely on Visual Studio. We're just going to cover that also in here. Then we took a trip into the Office store. We now these days we have Windows 8 we have Windows 8 stores, we have SharePoint stores, we have also an Office store. So we are going to go into the Office store and see what we can find before going. We decided that we should see what Excel has to offer in the Office store that was free. So we're going to take a look at that also. Then we're going to talk about SharePoint, the SharePoint integration. We're going to talk about extending the reach to new types of users, more users, talk a bit about the solution and so on. Take advantage of Office 365 today. We're going to talk about Docs Express that is available under the same conditions as Jet Reports. It is a very nice little document management tool that enables you to store documents in NAV, and it's automatically stored on your SharePoint site. Then we're going to talk a bit more about queries, or more or less we're going to talk about some of the great new additions to Excel 2013 in terms of formatting, Power View, Power Maps, kind of get clear the landscape in terms of what it is and what it can do for you in terms of visualizations. Connecting people and data. We're going to take a look at Jonathan's Windows Phone, talk a bit about how Office integrate into that and kind of compete the OneNote integration that we have. And finally, we have dedicated a spot for Excel 2013 for Jonathan to show his passion around Excel, give us a few elements around business productivity and some of the hidden treasures also of Excel 2013.
Yes.
So, again, thanks a lot for coming. Let's see whether you have you know all of this stuff or you don't. We'll keep a count as we go throughout the session.
Yeah, we have a bit of a competition going here, guys. Some of these things are Christian, some are mine. We won't tell you which. So we're going to be keeping score to find out if we've landed some blows here with you. So we'll get into that in a moment.
I believe you're first one up.
Yes, okay, thank you. So let's get cracking. I'd like to tell you now a little bit about PowerPivot. And, well, I need to start the story a little bit earlier, actually. And I want to tie together a few things which are new in NAV. 2013 R2 and 2013, which are this query object which we talked about. So query object or queries is a new object which really is just a very powerful and high performance way of getting your data out of NAV, and then by using web services exposing that to applications and other services like Excel where you can mash up and manage your data. So I want to take you through that, and then I also want to talk a little bit about OData and show you how that works, because you may have heard about this. It's basically a protocol. It's a way of presenting data through a web feed. It's by XML. And then show you PowerPivot, which is one of the Power BI tools. Many of you have heard about it. You might be a little bit intimidated by it, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to get your data out, mash it up, and put together some quick analyses and visualizations. And I think you're going to be impressed. Well, I hope so anyway. But let's talk more action. So let's crack on to the demo box. So I'm sorry that I had to talk to you from behind over here, but I hope that I've got enough stentorian reach in my voice to make myself heard. So the first thing which I want to do is do some queries. Now, some of you may not be familiar with what I'm showing you here. This is the development environment of Dynamics NAV. It's the back end. Okay, and you can see here on the left-hand side we've got various parts of it. Some are familiar to you, code units and reports. The one I'm interested in here is queries. Now, for the sake of time and brevity, I don't want to create an entirely new query, but I am going to show you a query object which I authored a little bit early on. Here at the bottom, we've got one called customer sales. And when I click in here, it's really, I'm going to click design, and what you can see is, really it's quite simple. With the data item that we have here, it's just a column. I've gone into the customer table, table 18, and here I've selected a series of columns like number, name, salesperson, profit, and so on and so forth. Now that I've got my query object and I've saved it and it's being compiled by NAV, I can go into NAV itself, into the Windows client, and from here I'm just going to go to Web Services. The easiest way sometimes to do this is just to go in and click on Web Services. Oops. Bear with me for a second. Okay. So, just going in and, right, here we go. So this is trusty old Cronus, which we're going to be looking at here. Now I'm going to go back to Web Services again. Web Services, bear with me for a moment. Right, here we go. Okay, thanks for showing up, Web Services. Now, here we have at the bottom is actually the query which I created earlier. As you can see, it's query 50,000. If I were to add it, of course, I can just add a new one, but for now we'll just say that there it is. And you'll notice that here we have this OData URL, and this is how OData is presented, okay? If I click on this, I'm opening up IE, and you can see that it's essentially just an XML blob. Okay, it's just basically a text format with all the data compressed into it. Now I need this URL here, so I'm just going to copy it because I need this when I go into Excel. So here I am in my Excel workbook. Okay, so just to recap what we've done, we've made a query and to expose our data. I've gone to Web Services and I've grabbed it as a URL. Now I'm in Excel, and here I want to go into PowerPivot because we're interested about that. I want to manage my data. So just give me a moment, and then under here I want to add this from another source. Oh, sorry, no I don't. I want to add this from a data service. We can see from an OData feed. I'm just going to paste this in. Now just one little modification that I want to do here. This is the actual name of my workstation, and I want to just change this to be local. So putting it in there, finishing it. What's happening now is that essentially PowerPivot is importing my data. There it is. Now my data has come in. You can see name, salesperson code, and all the rest of it. So this is quite straightforward. I'm just going to highlight that again to home. Click on pivot table. I want to use an existing worksheet. So what I'm doing now is I've just brought that into my workbook. Okay? At this point, I want to start to visualize this data. So what I'm going to do now is quite simple. I'm just going to insert. You're going to see a lot of this inserting as we go through the other stuff as well. But anyway, into insert. And what I want to do is put in a pivot chart. I'm going to use an external data source. I'll choose the one which I've just brought in, because I know that it's always going to be live and refreshable. And this is important. What we're doing now, every time you modify this, it's going to be getting live data from NAV. So if I send this to somebody else, they'll get the latest snapshot of the real world data for me. So clicking OK. OK. So here we have a chart object. And now I just want to add, let me see, I want to put in name, and I want sales, and I want profit. And as simple as that now, I already have a visualization. So I'm just going to drag that out, make it a little bit bigger. I want to actually bring it down here. I also want to have something to slice it and dice it. Now remember that your, I want country region code. This is, I want to add this as a slicer. So a slicer really is just a dimension that I want to analyze my data on. And then I also maybe want to have the salesperson, right? So I want to see that particular salesperson. So right here, right now, I've just made a really quick analysis where I can, for example, I can click on CH for the Czech Republic, and okay, that's a little bit lower. Let's put that over there. Or nothing much going on in the Czech Republic, I can see. Finally, I can see that in AT, I think that's
Austria.
Thank you very much, Christian. We can see that JHAR has made some sales. So, in a sense, what I've done here is just a quick 2-minute view of live refreshable data out of NAV and visualize really simply using PowerPivot. Anybody that's got Excel skills can do this. Just for the sake of showing you what can be done, this is one that Christian here authored on the plane coming over. We were slightly delayed in New York. So you can see the kind of thing that can be done. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Enable content, and okay. So unfortunately, I'm not able to show this at quite the scale that I was hoping for, but you can maybe get the idea. That's a rather fancy schmancy one. You know, blame Christian for the miniature size of it, but ultimately that's the kind of thing you can do. So I think in summary here, just about what you've seen, we've managed to go in and use a query unit, the new code. We've managed to get our data, pull it out, bring it into Excel, visualize, make it something useful immediately. Any of you can do that. Tell me that we have a score on that one, guys. Tell me we have a score. Do we have a score? 1-0. Thank you very much.
Great job, Jonathan.
Okay.
So the number, we've shown PowerPivot before. We've shown, data mashups and so on. The number one question always after doing a BI session has always been, how did you get the data into PowerPivot? Now, in the past, we've cheated a bit. Now, this is kind of done live, so this is kind of to show that going forward, we're able to leverage tools like PowerPivot. That's the first point I want to make. Second point is that PowerPivot was introduced on Excel 2010. So if you have Excel 2010, it won't be in their default. You have to go to powerpivot.com and download it as an application, as an add-in. If you have Excel 2013, it's in there included already. So that's a point to make. Moving on to Power View and Power Maps. How many of you know about Power View or Power Maps today? So I'll take that as being a tip no matter what. So Power Viewer is a very nice data exploration tool that has now become a standard component of Excel 2013. It enables you to do pivoting and at the same time do some very nice analysis using charting functions, a new way of presenting data. Power Maps is related to mapping, so you have the ability to map your customers. You have the ability to put in your numbers and so on, as I'm going to show you now, these two capabilities. And again, these are included default into Excel 2013. If you have the first version of Excel 2013, which is a bit over a year ago, they won't be in there, so you have to go and Bing Power View and Power Maps or go to office.com and download these as add-ins. That's what I did, because my version was also a bit over a year old. But let's go take a look. So what I've opened here is actually an Excel spreadsheet, no more, no less. On the right-hand side, you can see our friend the query again, customer sales. So in this one, I want to do a nice little visualization or do an analysis. So I do a drag and drop, like this. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's also call it customer sales, like that. You can add some profit numbers like this. And then you can go up, and as you can see on the left-hand side, I now have various options for choosing chart types very easily. So I can just add charts, so you can have it, you can filter and do your own charts, and then you can have it exposed also on a SharePoint Online, so you make it interactive for other users to use as part of an Excel web app. So that's one way of doing it. If you are online, you can also use Bing Maps as this one. It maps out your location like this. And I can then go ahead and I can add additional filters to it, so I can have a drill down like this. So you kind of get the idea. It's running off a live map as such. Again, you just need to have Bing Maps as part of it. So as part of a presentation you're doing internally, you can have this as one of your slides, have an interactive slide like this, and use Excel that way. So that is Power View. Another very nice feature is that of Power Maps, which will be in my other sheet here. And this is, as you can see here on top, I have a map option. What I've done here is I've exploded the query we saw before, and we put it into the Excel spreadsheet. And then you get this. So this is a very nice globe, as we know it, and I can turn it around. If you didn't see that, I'm going to do it again. Oh, it looks good. Like that.
Master of the world.
Yeah, look at that. Looks good. World at my fingertips.
Exactly.
Over here on the right, you again have the pivoting experience that you know from Excel. So now I can go and I can map my locations. So let's do that. So I pick some country region codes. And let's also do some profit and some sales again from our query. I want to just map them in here. And do some latitude. And some longitudes like that. Map my countries, as you can see here. And then I want to add some numbers. Let's add some profits. Like that. Some sales. Let's get rid of this one. Let's also change the theme so it looks better.
Yeah.
Give it a more earth
Make it look realistic.
feel.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not the earth look and feel.
a smooth silver
It's a very
ball.
ice planet.
Yes, exactly.
Lookalike.
That is northeastern America for the last 3 months, right?
Yeah, that's a bit like the weather in Atlanta. So, in real life, that should have been a globe displaying maps. Apparently it doesn't.
If you squint a little bit, you can just see it. Yeah.
Oh, that looked better then. All right, but essentially you get the idea that you can then map out your if you have sales done in multiple locations, you can map out your customers. That can be in the US, that can be in Europe. And one of the cool things you can also do is if you want to measure sales over time, you have a time dimension also added to your query. You can kind of map a tour so you can kind of understand seasonal sales and so on. You can find some very nice demos. If you go also on office.com, they have some nice demo materials that kind of displays these power maps and so on. So that's power maps. For some reason, I just need to try it once more. That's not fair.
Yeah, that's grim.
What can you
Try
do?
it yourselves at home and you'll see what we meant.
Yeah.
You know, it looks pretty amazing.
It's a tough world. Okay. Going back to our presentation. So that was Power View and Power Maps. Moving on to the next one, Report Builder.
Report Builder, okay.
That'll be you?
That looks like it's my one, right. Thank you, Christian. So, Report Builder. How many of you have heard of Report Builder? Oh, that's borderline for a score.
Let's take it as a tip.
Okay, let's take it as a tip. Right, okay, fine, fair enough. So what is Report Builder? It is something that is bundled with SQL. It is a way for you to author your reports. It's got some amazing features, like spark lines, Edward Tufte and stuff and whatnot. What you're probably not aware of is its capabilities, its integration into Dynamics NAV, and the fact that you can use it with NAV to author your reports. So rather than go on about it, I'm going to show you again how easy it is to set up and how easy it is to use. So I'm just going to go back to the demo box quickly. Click in here to number two. Yeah, that's me. Okay, bear with me for a second. So, first thing I need to do is, you remember our trusty development environment. And the first thing I need to do is go into Tools, Options, and you'll notice that, oops, that should say no. Right. When it says no, it means that you're not using Report Builder. And if I change it to yes, now it means that it is configured to use Reporting Builder. And that, in one go, is the setup completed. Now, in the same environment, I'm going to go into Report. Over here, I'm going to make myself a new report. And just here under the View menu, under Layout, by invoking that, there we have it. SQL Server 2012 comes up, and Report Builder is invoked. And what you can see here is a very Office-like environment, which is familiar and is a way for you to do your report modifications. So, whether or not you prefer this or Visual Studio, because this is the key point here, it means that you no longer are dependent on Visual Studio to modify your reports. It is a matter of purely personal preference whether you use this or Visual Studio. However, you now know that you have the option to do it. It's a great tool. It works very well. It's simple. It's integrated with NAV. And I think that that definitely counts as a score. Oh, okay, it doesn't. Right. Do we have anything to add? Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Lady over there. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad I paid for the shill. So, Christian, did you have anything to add on that one?
No, I guess you kind of made the point that you have SQL, in most cases at least, so you can use your existing investment as opposed to having to go buy Visual Studio. Yes, sir?
R2 only or 2013 as well?
What, for Report Builder?
Yes.
I believe it's 2013 as well. Yes, I'm 90% sure that it's 2013 as well. But I'm 90% sure. My caveat is that 10%.
So I'm going to close that one and say it's R2 only, actually, unfortunately.
Okay. Is it?
Yes.
Right, I go down in flames. At least my boss isn't sitting in the front row. Oh, he is. Okay, well, forget about that. Right, so we'll move along. I think let's go on the safe side and say 2013 R2.
It is R2.
It is. Okay, sorry, I misspoke.
SQL 2012 only, or is there add-on for 2008?
No, I believe that it is 2012 only. So I think I'm right about that one, right?
You're right about that
Okay,
one.
phew. Now I'm all cautious about my bold statements. It's SQL going back to 1994. No, it isn't. Okay.
OneNote.
OneNote. Oh, right. Okay, me again. So now OneNote. Aha, OneNote. Who doesn't know OneNote? Anyone who doesn't know OneNote? Okay, let me talk to you at the back. OneNote is an amazing note-taking application, bundled with the Office suite. Every version of Office since 2010 onwards has got OneNote. It's a hidden gem. It's a great program. And the good news that we have for you is that this is beautifully integrated with NAV. You may have not known that. So, we've all got this problem of where do we keep our notes. We all want an everywhere sort of bucket that we can keep things. The problem is we've got disparate systems. We're working in NAV. We need to remember something. And, where do I master, keep those records? Well, OneNote is a definite candidate. So let me switch to the demo box. I just want to show you quickly what I'm talking about some of its capabilities. Okay, let me get rid of now the development environment. No more of that. And... okay, bear with me for a second. And what I want to show you, I'm just going to go into NAV itself. And let me see if I can just go up here to the, bring that down a little bit. And I'm actually, so say I want to, for example, let me go into the home, and I want to go into my customer records here. And let me just select Selangorian. Well, isn't that the best name of a company that you've ever seen? Selangorian. Right, anyway, let me open it up. So in the card for Selangorian, I can see here that, let me just make that a little bit wider. Say I want to make a record, I can see that Mark MacArthur is the contact, and I need to remember to call Mark about something, the amazing name of his company. I just click it, and as you can see in the right-hand corner, OneNote has been invoked. Make a note to myself to call Mark. I'm going to make that I want to make that a to-do. So just like that, I have now quickly and simply added a record which is cross-connected, it's interconnected. Those, as you can see in OneNote and from here, they reference each other, so I can get back to either application easily. If I open up my OneNote, we can see instantaneously call Mark has been synchronized to my OneNote notebook. So what we have here is basically a brilliant tool where you can master your records. You can keep everything you need for a customer contact or for whatever record you have in NAV. You can keep it in OneNote, cross-sync it, and later on we'll show you how that also shows up on your devices and your phones. And we think that that's one really cool feature of 2013 and 2013 R2. Christian, did you have something to add on the OneNote side of things? Oh wait, is that a score?
Excellent. Very good.
Did you have a question, sir? Sorry. Yes, it's on a user level. I believe it's each NAV user, and it is set up in the user preferences in the profile, and you link to a specific notebook. I didn't have time to show that to you today, but if afterwards I can show you exactly how it's set up, if you like. Okay. Christian?
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, how many of you know about Jet Report Express? So that's not going to be a tip. Fair enough. We're going to cover it anyway. So Jet Report Express has been part of the Business Insight story for NAV for some years now. It's been downloaded by thousands of customers. It's a very nice Excel add-in that enables end users to easily extract data into Excel and combine tables and do easy reporting. From a solution perspective, I want to call out a few features. First of all, the table builder. The table builder is the ability to combine tables within Excel to do very easy, simple analysis when you do your self-service reporting. A general ledger function, they actually introduced a new general ledger function. If you've seen the older version of Jet Express, they've actually updated that around a year ago. It's a bit new in terms of functionality and UI, but essentially it's the NAV's financial reporting engine in Excel, as opposed to account schedules, which is the financial reporting engine sitting inside NAV. Report Player, that is a very nice little document library. They actually have two. There's one for Windows 7. It's a very nice little way of giving a nice Excel overview of your reports, as I'm going to show you. They also have one for Windows 8, so if you go to the Windows 8 App Store and you search for Jet Report Express, you will actually find the Report Player containing the sample reports I've also highlighted down below. That's what I've done. And also as part of the solution, as you can tell from the slide, the solution comes with content. So the application team, the R&D team in Vedbæk, together with Jet, picked out 20 plus reports that we most often see end users work with in Excel. Those are all plug and play, part of the solution and ready for use. A bit on the term side, localization-wise, it's been localized to all countries having a Microsoft localized version of NAV. You can go to customer source, and if you're partner to partner source, you can search for Jet Report Express, and you'll find a download page. We will share some links at the end of the session. Compatibility, as you can see, it was made available in NAV 2009, is available on future versions as well, and also the compatibility around Excel from 2007. Let's go take a look at Jet Report Express. So I go to my desktop here, and as you can see, I have my report player in the middle. So this would be my Jet report player for Windows 8. It does a very nice grouping of reports. You can go in and set up how you want to group your Excel reports. When you download it, it actually comes with these reports, as you have it in here. Some of which are for Jet Express, some of which are for their other solutions that they provide. If I click one, you can see I have the ability to, you can put in some notes around the report. You can see who ran it the last time and when you did it. You can also access the report from here. So this report, as you can tell, also comes with a bit of the formatting that Excel has to provide. So as Jonathan did, added some slices and so on. If you want to play around with that, you can go and download the reports and also get that feeling or experience around that, how you can set that up. This actually looks very familiar to the dashboard that I tried to create.
This is the one he made on the plane that I failed to show.
This is the Jet ribbon. This is the Excel add-in that you download and install. Jet has gone to a great effort in the localization piece. If you go to their download page, you'll see that they have created some nice videos showing you how you install it and how you use the key features as part of the application. Only one thing I want to show you is the table builder. So when you set it up once, you load it in your database. You can, as an end user, add your own table. So all the NAV tables in here will be here, and you can pick any table you want. You only have to do this once. You can update the report from Excel, and you will have real-time data. And essentially, when you create the report, it gives you the ability to give a view of how the reporting layout is going to be, like this. So you kind of get the feeling that you, from a tooling perspective, it's very nice in terms of setting up these Excel reports. So it's really been a great success so far.
Yeah.
That's Jet Report Express. Next up is the Office App Store.
Thank you. Office Apps is one of mine. So what do we have with Office Apps? Office Apps are amazing little apps that you can use to extend your Office functionalities. There is an entire Office App Store available from within Office applications. And they have got everything in there. They can help you scan your Word document for nonsense words or buzzwords. You've got visualizations, you've got mind map add-ins. Many of them are free. And if you've got a problem in Office, check the App Store to see if there's something that can solve your problem. They're little applets that you download and use, and I'm going to just show you one of them. Well, I think we'll just take you on a quick tour into the App Store, actually. Should we do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, let's go and have a look at the back to the demo machine. So here we can see on my screen I've just got a spreadsheet, right? But you'll notice that here up on the Insert menu, there is this Store and My Apps. This is what we're talking about. If I click on Store, it's opening it up, and here we go. We've got a couple. I'm just going to, make it a bit wider there for you to see some of the stuff. So here are some editors picks, Bing Maps, of course, and PayPal and Excel training. There's a training modules that for example, you might have training on PowerPoint that guides you through it. Here we've got, oh look, there's the Mzami calculator app. That sounds compelling, but let's leave that for another day. I downloaded a couple earlier on. You can see that under here, we can also have them for our organization. So you can have an organizational account that gets them if they're paid for. But I've got some personal apps for the sake of demos. So here we've got, one Mind Mapper one, for example. This is a very good mind mapping application you can use in any Office document. But I'm going to just take a quick look at Gauge. Gauge is quite a cute one. Essentially, it is what it says. It puts a bunch of gauges really into your document. So here you can see it's just asking me to insert some gauges. It's asking me where do I get the data from. I want to use these three fields over here. Click OK. And look, what it's done is it's now given me a series of gauges that are based on the fields that you can see. The other thing which I can do, of course, is that, okay, you're probably thinking, hang on a second, you've only highlighted 3, but there are 5. That's because there's some hidden fields there. There's a data feed underneath. I'm just going to click on here and I can change the thresholds, for example. So say, for example, the green range, I want to make the max value 50. Well, no, I don't think I want to make it 550, but let's make it 50 instead. And then I go back. You'll see that it can actually be extended now here to show that. So this is just one really quick, we'll just go back to the slide for a second just to see if there's anything else which I wanted to mention. So it's like one example of an app that you can use to extend your Office experience, solve problems, have some fun, do some training, do some learning. Go and explore. There's a lot of them and they're really, really fun. So I forgot to ask up front whether you'd seen it before, but on Trust, how did that one go down? Was that a score? Ah, okay, thank you. Good. So Christian, I'll just hand over to you. Any other comments on that one?
No, we just wanted to demystify kind of the Office store also for our own benefit. We haven't been in there ourselves, so it gave us a natural opportunity to go in and snoop around and see what we could find. We think there are some great stuff in there. You'll make up your own minds. This was one of the free versions you could add that you can extend and so on. So a lot of cool stuff in there, so go check it out. SharePoint Online. So how many of you know about the SharePoint integration we introduced in NAV 2013 R2? So that's going to be a tip now after this one, I promise you. So as part of the release, we introduced what we would call a SharePoint integration. The reason why we did was to enable customers to extend the reach of NAV to new types of users within the organization as an option. It really is to combine the structured data of NAV that you get in document reports and invoices and so on that NAV provides with that of the unstructured world that SharePoint has to offer to document management workflows and so on. And really enable NAV to be combined with these capabilities of SharePoint. From a solution perspective, if you've seen the web client, it consists of pages. Or the window client is the same. So a page, so a customer will be a page, a chart will be a page, a sales invoice will be a page, and so on. So what we have enabled, as you're also going to see in the demo, is the ability to pick any page and transform it into a SharePoint web part. So a customer card, pick the page, and it's transferred into a SharePoint web part. So essentially you can combine NAV functionality with that on SharePoint, either on SharePoint Online or SharePoint On-Premise. We're going to take a look at that. From a partner perspective, in terms of deployment, you don't have to go out and hire a lot of SharePoint resource because it's all based on the same backend. When you set up your NAV system, you can decide whether the customer, you, are actually accessing NAV through a Windows client, the web client, or a SharePoint client. We're going to take a look at that also. But again, from the user's perspective, we wanted to enable the ability to take advantage of SharePoint as being a collaboration platform, as being a business productivity platform, with a lot of the great tools that SharePoint has to offer. You can theme it and brand it and so on in your company colors or whatever you look for. So let's go take a look at how it might look. Like
the new SharePoint experience called Imagination. Do we need to?
Close your eyes. There you are.
Right here.
Okay. So this portal will also resemble the one we have down at the Expo. So after this demo, you can actually go down and try it out yourself, play around with it to get a better feel for it. But essentially, the only difference will be it's not going to be called Christian's Portal. I named it that one. But what you see here is a SharePoint Online version of SharePoint with some NAV components on it. You could also have done it in an on-premise environment. So what I've added here is a charting function. Oh, just need to update it for a bit. It's been standing around waiting for me. So I've added a charting function, so that would be a page surface from within NAV. I've added some, which is very explicit now, some SharePoint components in here that you will see, so I can combine the various web parts. If you ever set up on my site, you probably you've done a document folder or something else, and you kind of have these web parts you can move around with. So that's really the experience you can do here. You can move around and create your own little role center or portal, as I've done here. So I can choose a chart part from within NAV that looks like this, and it gives me the ability to enable some of the end users in your organization. The portal I've created here doesn't really enable them to do any actions. You don't have to do any actions, but it enables new users that wouldn't have access to NAV to actually get some insight on the data that's going on within your organization. So that would be a charting part you could enable to their own portal. On the right-hand side, you can see I have announcement and discussions. These are two standard components of SharePoint Online. And actually, I have a little treat at the end of the session on how you can actually get your own version here. But essentially, these are standard components that you just plug and play. The announcement part, as you can see, I welcome Jonathan Davis to our little environment here. But other than that, discussions will be, as an example, where you can have discussions within your team that you can display here, and it gets alerts to your mailbox and so on. Very nice components of SharePoint. I've also added in another page from NAV, which is my trial balance, as you can see, that enables the end user to kind of get a feel for how the business is moving. I have my receivables, payables, that is also displayed here. Again, there's no real action I can take here from an end user perspective. Just give me the real-time insight I can get to my data here. Down on the left-hand side, you see a document folder that might be mine, where I store various documents that is related to my working role. On the right-hand side, we again have an NAV component. I've allowed the end user to get access to 8 reports. It could be that it's 2, it could be that it's 20, but as an end user, I can go and invoke these reports from within NAV. Again, set it up this way, and it doesn't really, again, allow me access to the full application, but just give me access to run certain reports that was related to my working role, as an example. So this would be my experience. I click it. It comes in a PDF format. It could be an Excel format again. But again, it gives me the real-time data coming from within NAV. Very nice way of giving new types of users access to NAV.
Yeah, it really is nice.
Closing this down, also a little gimmick. You can see I've kind of added in some descriptions in terms of what is the report I'm going to look at, so there kind of are some report descriptions in there. Again, this is a web part that can contain 2 or 20 or whatever kind of reports that you want the end user to be able to run. So talk to your partner about that. I want to just briefly show you how this looks from a developing standpoint. So what you do is you download NAV 2013 R2 as an app that you implement on SharePoint very easily. Then you, as I mentioned before, you've probably done your own MySite, or some of you have. So as you can see here, these are now various web part components of SharePoint. From a solution perspective, I can go and click the insert button and click app part. And in here, you actually see these are the various components of NAV that we have allowed. So as an example, a generic card means that you can pick any card, customer card or similar from within NAV. You just plug and play it onto a SharePoint, and you point to the page number in NAV, and it's exposed. Underneath, you have the entire web client displayed for you, so you just pick and choose what are the individual components you would like the end user to get access to. To show you that, just going to go out of this one. Let's just save it. On the left-hand side, I've added a link to my web client. That's, of course, also something you can do for the end user. But essentially, all of these elements you see in here, those are the ones you could give the end user access to. They can also get access to the web client if they want to do a sales invoice. You can invoke the ability for the end user to just do a sales invoice. So again, they don't get access to the entire application. So that is the SharePoint client. Let's go back to this one. In terms of when and where you use the SharePoint client, well, as I just mentioned, the web client is kind of running underneath. You should choose the SharePoint client if you want to combine NAV functionalities with SharePoint. That's when you should use it. If you don't want to do that, you should stick to the web client. That's kind of the way to view it. If you're a hardcore NAV user, you should usually use the Windows client because it's installed on your on-premise, and performance-wise, there will be if you have a browser look and feel, that's always different than having a Windows client running. Again, if you come down to the Expo, you can kind of take a look and feel on the various client types. As you saw when I flicked from the SharePoint client to the web client, it doesn't really have a lot of different look and feel essentially. But when you look at the Windows client, there are certain elements that are different. It's different in terms of how usability, in terms of the shortcuts and so on. Yeah. From a partner perspective, we of course have some knowledge articles around how you can set up these types of scenarios. So you can go to Partner Source and look that up. You can also go to MSDN, where we have description around how you do these extranet portals. So that was the SharePoint integration.
Connecting people and data. Right, so as you guessed, this is one of mine. This is less of a kind of a tip or a trick. It's just a showcase. I just want to kind of outline a little vision for you of the sort of things that you're capable of doing now when you're in an ecosystem in the sort of 21st century connected world where you can bring together so much different functionalities through these various applications. And the great thing is that they work so nicely with our Dynamics NAV product as well. So what we're going to do right now is we're just going to spark up the camera. And we're going to show you on my lovely Nokia 925 phone. I came from the Apple ecosystem, and I can tell you that it blows the competition out of the socks, and I say that faithfully and honestly to you. So let me just switch it on for a second. I'm just going to come up. Can you see that?
They will. Come again? Oh, that's a nice phone.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's a lovely phone, right? Maybe we should show you what you look like to us, huh, Christian? Shall we show the audience? That's what you guys look like. Hey, should we have a selfie with the audience? Come on. Hey, come on.
Looking very good.
No, I wanted to bring you in, but anyway. So back to my phone. A couple of things. Firstly, hey, hecklers, hey, Can you see it? Okay, thanks. Perfect. So the first thing you notice here is I've got Office, right, on my phone. So I just want to click in here. This is amazing. Here you can see there is the sort of flash fill suggest. That's the work which I was just working with a moment ago on my laptop. That's synced up to Office 365. Here it's interrogating OneDrive, but it works with OneDrive for Business. It works across the entire kind of Office ecosystem. I could click that and open it. We can, we can also see that I've got access to phone, email, and various other things there. So this is a fully running sort of Office environment here. If I get out of Office and I click into back to OneNote, I mean, you can see I've got Link. We'll talk about that in a moment, or Christian will cover that. Here's my OneDrive app. This is amazing as well, OneDrive. And here we can see that I've got my sort of convergence folder and 10 tips and tricks, and there I've got some of those work pictures I was using with, and I could click and open any one of those. Going into... He's a very good holder and stable model, isn't he? Right?
Am I not good?
No. I just feel sorry. Christian's getting cramped there. He's like, hurry up, shut up. So here we go with the OneNote. And here, okay, look, there is my, Selangorian. And I'm just going to click, okay, I called you Mark, right? Fair enough. And let me just make sure that I can sync that back up. And so there we have it. Just a little quick summary example and an opportunity for us to look at ourselves on camera of how the old ecosystem hangs together using Office and OneNote and OneDrive. And remember, this is all integrated with NAV. And I mean, if I pop back just very quickly to the win box here, and if I just there we go. Is it there already?
No, it's not.
Give me two. Give me two.
There you
now,
go.
I didn't even touch it. Can you see what's happened? Mark has been ticked. So, final proof that this happens fast. This is instantaneous updates across your entire ecosystem. And, obviously we're company guys, so we're very much excited about it. But I can assure you that if you try it and you give this stuff a shot, you're going to be amazed at how well all of these disparate elements play together. Well, that could be transformative for you in your work and in your play. So if we can just quickly click back to the slides, I'm just going to take you back and see if there's anything else which I wanted to mention there. So bear with me. Yeah, so also, I mean, what we haven't touched on here is Skype and Link and the whole enterprise and voice story. But there is amazing stuff happening there. It's not as much of a talk to this particular audience. There's now interoperability between Skype and Link. I just got a note from my wife saying goodnight. Actually, it would have been kind of funny if that had sort of popped up on the screen, but it was kind of cute, and we do have a sort of a pretty amazing situation these days where we can be, literally 6,000 miles from home here and still easily talking to our kids and our wives. I mean, it makes these conferences tolerable, frankly. So, Christian, do you want to make any points about this slide?
You were filling out space so I could set up my demo.
Yeah, okay, that was the secret sauce here. So if I banged on a bit, it was to give my partner time to set up.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Jonathan.
Okay.
So, this one is about Docs Express. How many of you know about Docs Express? That will be a tip then.
Yes.
So, Docs Express is a very nice little document management feature we've also had available for some years under the exact same conditions as Jet Reports. So if you go to customer source and or partner source, search for Docs Express, you will find this application. And again, they have also created some very nice videos around how you implement it and the key features as part of the solution. What I'm going to show you is how you, I've already implemented, but essentially it's a fact box you get as part of NAV. You can display that fact box on your items, on your sales invoices, or on your customers. You can do a drag and drop, or you can upload a document. And that fact box will display the document, and at the same time, automatically, it will store it on your SharePoint Online portal or on your SharePoint on-premise version of SharePoint. So that's essentially it. They also have some other capabilities in terms of a solution. Go check that out if you go to Customer Source and read about that and look at the videos and so on. Let's go take a look. So, as you can see here, one of the new elements for those of you who actually raised their hand on Docs Express, they've also added a fact box for the web client, which is new, or like 6 months old. But essentially, you now have the ability to do a drag and drop in a web client also. So that's what I'm going to do. On the right-hand side, you can see I have the document folder. That's what you implement. And again, I've decided to put that on a sales invoice here. So I can choose a report here, do a drag and drop, and it's installed here. I can also at the same time do an upload. Well, very good. Let's find a different document. I refuse to go down.
We seem to have a lot of real world meeting us today, but yeah.
Let's find something else.
Yeah. This is the world of live demos, guys, just so you know. For those of you who have experienced this, you feel our pain, I'm sure.
It's all good.
Okay.
Go ahead. So is it? Bloody.
Right,
Okay.
close your eyes.
Imagine
Imagine a world.
you will have a PDF document that will be right underneath that one, okay?
Yeah.
And then when you go into your SharePoint Online portal, which is this one, you will have a document folder on the left-hand side. In this case, it's called CDOCS Express. CDOCS, you can rename that. And in here you can see I've done this demo before, because these are the folders that you pop up whenever you've done the demo. And in here you will have your Excel spreadsheet. This could be on a team side, it can be on your side. Essentially, it's a very nice way of storing data, and that document is going to follow the item or the customer card or the sales invoice as I displayed before. And again, this is available at no additional cost if you're on an active business ready enhancement plan. Let's see if I actually have a document in here. Nope, I don't, which is strange. Very good. Going back to my slides. So that was CDOCS Express. We also have some other Office 365 integration components. You probably also are very familiar with the Outlook integration. That's of course also available in an Office 365 version of Office. You can do the OneNote piece that Jonathan showed you. You can also do that in Office 365 version. The send to Excel pieces that we have in Excel, the tasks you can perform, you can also do that in an Office 365 version of Excel. Extend the reach, we've already covered that. That's a SharePoint Online piece you can do to new and more types of users. Link, you've seen kind of the presence element you can have on SharePoint Online. You can, as you can see on phone, you can have conversations, and from a link, from a working perspective, using Link quite often. That's really great in terms of collaboration. So you can have the ability to call from within NAV to your colleagues, to your clients, to your vendors, and so on. You can share desktop. It's a very nice application. And of course, we also leverage the Office 365 version. That's Office 365. Let's leave it on a high.
Yes, I hope this is a high for you anyway. So this is the inner nerd talking to all the nerds out there, right? So what I'm going to show you is a couple little things in Excel which were absolutely delightful when I found out about them. Okay, when I was introduced, you work in Excel every day, and there are some kind of things which irritate you or might bug you, and then suddenly you find out that in your favorite application, there's these hidden nuggets and gems that just completely solve your problems. We're going to just show you 3 of them today, but the takeaway here is that spend the time to get to know your tools, because you will find, especially in the Office suite, that a lot of the things which are pain points for you have been thought of and found out about. But anyway, let me show you. So I'm going to go over here to the demo machine. And the first thing that I'm going to, oops, I think we've got a, how's that? You see? Okay. The first thing I want to talk to you about is quick analysis, right? So for an ordinary user that's confronted with a tabular data set of tables and rows and columns, they don't know what they want to do. How am I going to analyze that? Well, in Excel 2013, you can just highlight your block of data, and a little icon pops down here. When I get this quick analysis menu. And here it's showing me things like data bars or color scales, icon sets for formatting. I can select it and get specialized charts and see, okay, maybe I want a clustered chart, or maybe I want this clustered column chart. I can get totals, counts, averages, sums, all of the standard kind of features of totaling. Tables, spark lines, you name it. The point here is that Excel analyzes your data, and it gives you an instantaneous way to be able to select your data source and then present your data visually without having to think at all about how to do that to be a specialized user. This can really dazzle your customers and your bosses, so I would advise you all to try it out at some good point. Moving along swiftly, flash fill. Oh no, let me get rid of this. Let me see, is it gone? Phew. I made a mistake. I actually revealed myself before I intended to. That was kind of bad, but okay. So what's flash fill? Imagine you've got a situation where you have got a column there, like you see Tammy, Scott, and all the rest of it. You want to separate out the fact that you've got first names and second names. Now you can do it, yeah, sure. If you're an Excel Power user, you can put together something like this, which is a huge long formula, and it'll do it for you. Your alternative, of course, is just to go into Excel. I want to type in, now I want Tammy here, right? So Tammy, and then my next one is Scott. Oh, see? Bang. It has interpreted my data and flash-filled that. It has read my mind. An AI in Excel has figured out what I want to do and presented it for me. Come on, admit it, you love this one, guys. Come on. Okay, that's more like it. Thank you. Now, we've just got one more to show you. Recommended charts, it's a bit of an anticlimax after what you've just seen. It's similar to the instant analysis, but it's more chart focused. So in the insert menu, you can just see recommended charts. If I click, again, this has worked out that this type of data is probably best expressed at the moment here through this particular type of stack column chart, or maybe a stack link chart. However, I can also go to all charts and select pies or lines, or I can even do scatter plots and all the rest of it. So the theme here, very quickly, is just to reiterate that there is stuff in Excel which solves your problems, especially around how to present and visualize your data. So go there, dig it up, use it, and I hope that it's going to be of use for you, and I hope that we had a score on that particular one, because I loved it.
So that was our tips and tricks relating to NAV and integration into Office. We hope you learned a few elements.